This is the Gerry Callahan Show.
Hi, Levi on the channel line says he's watching along on Rumble from Liberia. So we got some viewers, some fans in Liberia, Ironhead. I don't even know, not even sure where Liberia is. I think it's in Africa, but I'm sure they've gotten a few $1 million from USAID. Hopefully you cashed in, Levi, but thank you for watching on Free Speech Rumble. Well, as we sit here right now, we're awaiting Donald Trump's announcement. Big announcement was teased yesterday, and there was a lot of speculation, a lot of hope from me and others that would pertain to the Epstein files. Apparently, it will not. It will be big. He promised it would be big. The New York Post reported last night that he was going to announce he's no longer going to refer to the Persian Gulf. He was going to call it the Arabian Gulf. I said, no, that can't be it. You can't do that, Donald. And apparently, that is not it. He's going to announce a trade deal with the UK. Our ally, England, will sign a deal. Here is the Trump Post from early this morning. The agreement with the United Kingdom is a full and comprehensive one that will cement the relationship between the United States and the United Kingdom for many years to come because of our longtime history and allegiance together. It is a great honor to have the United Kingdom as our first announcement. Many other deals, which are in serious stages of negotiation, to follow. All right, so what are they going to say now? I have been watching, listening, reading all the voices of resistance, all the Democrats, all their lapdogs in the media talking nonstop about the utter destruction these tariffs were going to bring to the United States, to the economy. They're rooting so hard for a stock market crash, for a recession. They are searching coast to coast and border to border for small businesses who are being affected. They're begging them to come on their TV shows and cry about how they've been ruined by these tariffs. And all of it is just speculation. The correct answer to all the questions about tariffs is we don't know. As I've said, I know that's not how it works in cable news or in podcasts or in talk radio. You don't go on and say, well, we just don't know, so we'll have to wait. But you have to wait. You have to wait to see what happens when he signs this deal and many, many others. It's not like there's not going to be trade deals. Obviously, the big one is China. As we speak, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, is on his way to Switzerland to meet with the Chinese in Switzerland. So who knows what that will bring. But as we said a couple of weeks ago, as Eric Trump tweeted, just watch. The person who signs the first deal is going to get the best deal, and then they're all going to come rushing to the table. So if the UK is the first domino to fall, if we see, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 deals in the next 2 weeks, what are you going to say then? Because here's the fact. Here's the thing that none of these cable news hacks and none of these Democrat senators and Congress people, none of them, none of these late night comedians ever say is that the deal Trump signs, the deal the U.S. signs, the trade deal with any country is going to be better than the one we had before. Of course it is. He's not going to negotiate a deal that's worse, right? So we're going to have better deals with these countries. So if they get them done, we're going to get all the details at some point, all the numbers and the tariff levels and all the products that are exempted and not exempted. We're going to know that. And it's just a fact that a new deal will be better than an old one. I keep begging the people on these shows, the Scott Jenningses and the Brett Bears, and I just say that. Just say, do you think when they sign a new deal, it's going to be worse than the old one? Of course not. So what are all the cable news hosts and all the critics and all the hacks at the New York Times and Washington Post going to say when the new deal is done and it's better than the old one? I don't really see how else it could go. I'm not sure what they think is going to happen. Obviously, China's a big issue. Obviously, it's going to cost you more to get cheap junk from China. We know that. But what's the alternative? The alternative is to continue with this imbalance and continue to enrich our greatest adversary, our enemy, continue to let them make all the pharmaceuticals and make all the phones and all these things we depend on. He's trying to change that. It's a long-term strategy to reset the global market. And you know what the mistake is for the Democrats right here, I think, and first and foremost, Bernie Sanders, who we will get to, they should have embraced this at some level. If you're a socialist, if you're a populist Democrat, you should at some point said, you know, this is what we wanted to do a long time ago. Obviously, it's going to help American workers. It's going to create bring back American manufacturing. Bernie made a miscalculation here. Bernie is a fraud. He is an absolute fraud. We've seen it when they stole the election from him in 2016, when they cheated in the debate and gave Hillary the questions, when they asked the old cranky commie to step aside, and he dutifully did. He's not a rebel. He's not a disruptor. He's a good go along to get along Democrat, just like the rest of them. He is a total fraud. He's the most popular Democrat right now. He's getting big crowds at his rallies. But you tell me, if he's genuinely a populist, why wouldn't he at some level embrace this and say, you know, I'm not a fan of Trump. I don't like most of what he does, but it's about time we stopped sending jobs overseas. It's about time we took steps to bring manufacturing, bring jobs back, made things in America. That's what a good, crazy, left-wing socialist Democrat should say, but he can't say it. And he's like every other Democrat. When he's told to get in line, he gets in line. That's what they do. Did you see what they did to John Fetterman last week? They put a hit out on him. They had unnamed staffers saying he's not fit for office, that he sometimes loses his way, that he's a bad driver. He texts and reads his phone, looks at his phone when he's driving, and they don't know what they're going to get one day to the next. We questioned Fetterman's fitness for office a year ago, you know, when he was running, or a couple of years ago when he was running for the Senate against Dr. Oz, and they said, oh no, he's fine, tip top. But now that he won't embrace Hamas, now that he'll stand up for Israel, now that he'll occasionally support something Trump does, they said, no, we can't have that. The difference in the Democrats and the Republicans, and I say this with respect and envy, Democrats don't step out of line. Democrats don't have James Langfords and Tom Tillises and Lisa Murkowski's and Susan Collins. They don't have them. They don't allow them. We have turncoats, rhinos. We have people like Tillis, who's trying to undermine Trump's pick for U.S. attorney in D.C., a great pick, Ed Martin, and he's trying to undermine him right now. And if he does, Judge Boasberg gets to pick the new U.S. attorney in D.C., but he doesn't care because he's a rhino backstabber like Mitt Romney and Mitch McConnell. They don't have them because if they step out of line, like Fetterman did, they come for them, man. They come for them and they try to ruin them. And that's what you're seeing right now. And that's why Bernie steps in line like a good little lemming that he is. Again, total fraud. And we saw it last week. We saw it the last few weeks when Bernie went on his, fight the oligarchy tour. Yes, fight the oligarchy. And of course, he gets a bunch of people to show up, most of them older than he is, you know, these kind of misshapen old ladies with like, you know, a long, messy gray hair screaming about the oligarchy. He gets his base out there, and his base is loud, and they're energized. And Bernie went on Fox News last night to talk about this, and I was watching this. I watched this because Bernie is fascinating. Again, he's 84 years old. He's a commie. He used to live in a commune when he was younger, but they kicked him out because he was so lazy. He wouldn't do his part. He now owns 3 homes. He's worth tens of millions of dollars. He's a complete hypocrite, a total and complete fraud. He's gotten filthy rich. And on this tour that he's on, screaming about the oligarchy and the billionaires who are controlling the country, he doesn't fly commercial. No, he's not booking flights and waiting in line and stuffing his bag in the overhead compartment, squeezing in to coach. Of course not. That's not what you do when you're fighting the oligarchy. Of course not. What you do is you call NetJets or one of the private jet companies and you say, get me a Gulfstream. Yeah, give me a Gulfstream. I'll be there when I can. What a liar. What if he has spent just on this tour that they've been on, AOC and Bernie for the last couple of weeks, $221,000 donated to, small donor donations on private jets. Not only is he fighting the oligarchy and standing with the working man and getting on his Gulfstream, but he is one of the loudest voices screaming about the climate change hoax, telling us we must do more about climate change. But this is great because he can say anything he wants. He's obviously he's in a safe seat in Vermont. He's always been, the idiots up in Vermont would vote for him if they found a dead girl, a live boy at his bed. They would still vote for him. They don't care. They love their favorite cranky commie. But he doesn't apologize. He says, yeah, I'm not waiting in the line of United. That's not what good Marxist rebels do. We don't wait in line at United. We fly private. Check this out.
Alyssa Slotkin, senator from Michigan, she said you shouldn't be using oligarch. It's over people's head. You've gotten criticized from other people. Free Beacon says Bernie Sanders spent $221,000 on private jets fighting the oligarchy tour, paid for by friends of Bernie Sanders. That you've spent millions of dollars in campaign funds on private jet travel over the years. How do you push back on both of those things?
When's the last time you saw Donald Trump during a campaign mode at National Airport?
No. It doesn't. But he's also not fighting the oligarchy.
No. You run a campaign and you do 3 or 4 or 5 rallies in a week. The only way you can get around to talk to 30,000 people. Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United, waiting, 30,000 people are waiting? That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that. That's what campaign travel is about. We've done it in the past. We're going to do it in the future.
And you think that this is hitting a mark? You think it's scratching the itch that voters want to hear from?
I think at a time when the people on top are doing phenomenally well, when seniors, working class people are struggling, people want to hear action to stand up to the people who have the wealth and the power and create an economy that works for all of us, not just the people on top.
Not just the people on top, like us who fly private. How many people who send him $20? How many people who showed up at the Fight the Oligarch rallies? How many have ever been on a private jet? I would guess none. But AOC and Bernie, they're special. They don't wait in line at United. No, you can't expect Bernie and AOC to fly with the rabble, with the working class. Again, total fraud. He's been saying, I watched this interview and I said, this guy has been saying the same thing for 40 years. He literally, the people on the top, the working class people are suffering while the people on the top, you're on the top. You have 3 homes. You have a big vacation home on the lake up in Lake Champlain. You fly private. You absolute fraud. This is typical. This is what communists do. They get rich. Rules for thee, not for me. This is he is the face of the Fight the Oligarchy fraudulent tour and movement. Here he is briefly speaking out, saying we must fight climate change. And then, telling you he has to fly private. Is there a single prominent voice about climate that is not a total hypocrite? John Kerry, Al Gore, AOC, Bernie, they're all just such frauds. Check it out.
Doing now is speaking to the American people and saying you have got to be involved in this process, because if you are not, the planet that we're going to leave to our kids and our grandchildren will be significantly less habitable.
5 rallies in a week. The only way you can get around to talk to 30,000 people. Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United, waiting, 30,000 people are waiting? That's the only way you can get around.
If
No
we
apologies
don't,
for that.
like
That's what campaign.
The planet's getting significant warmer. Our kids and grandchildren, there'll be no planet left for them if you don't. You know what these people want to do? They want to take away your gas stoves. They want to make it so your dishwasher takes like 8 hours to run the cycle. Things like that. They tell you we must do or we'll all die. And then they get on their Gulfstream, fly, from one place to the other that's like an hour away. Or, we have to use a private jet. You can't use a gas stove. No, that can't happen. You can't have a gas-powered car. You must buy an electric car to save the planet. But me, I can get on my private jet anytime I want. No apologies. I'm not waiting. That could be the most elitist line ever. You expect me to wait in line at United? What? Like you think I'm a plebe, a pedestrian, you think I'm a little person? I'm going to wait in line at United? By the way, and we're going to get to her too. Jasmine Crockett was caught the other day cutting in line at the airport saying, "Don't you know who I am?" Cutting in front of the first group, which is veterans and disabled people. Cut in front of them to get on the flight. She wanted to be first because she's special. Of course she is. I'll say it again. The Trump's got a lot going for him. He's got a lot of strengths, but his real superpower is the absolute fools in the opposition. He has the best/worst adversaries, enemies that a politician has ever had. And yesterday might have been the best day to highlight this. These people who are fighting the oligarchy, fighting Trump, trying to stop the Trump agenda, are just freaks and weirdos and clowns and morons. There were hearings on Capitol Hill where one Democrat after another beclowned himself. It was hysterical. There were violent riots at Columbia. They're not going to stop. They just won't stop. And of course, there's a new statue in Times Square. Yes, the America-hating left. They're back. There's people that tore statues down. Well, they're putting them up again, and they boy, did they pick a beauty. I didn't know. I know they love Letitia James. I didn't know they were going to honor her with a statue, but lo and behold, it looks like they did. We'll get to that and more, but first.
Excuse me.
Is the U.S. dollar in trouble? We're living in unpredictable times with digital currencies on the rise, a $35 trillion national debt, and inflation still at a 40-year high. Tesla billionaire Elon Musk has warned that the U.S. dollar is heading for destruction and that these factors could bankrupt the U.S. Financial experts are urging Americans to prepare right now. That's why you should strongly consider physical gold and silver to help protect your accounts like IRAs and 401ks. Preserve Gold is giving away a free precious metal guide that contains essential information on how to help protect your accounts. Just text the word Newsmax to 50505. Learn how you can put physical gold and silver into an IRA or a 401k and even purchase precious metals for delivery directly to your home. Preserve Gold has hundreds of 5-star reviews and millions of dollars in trusted transactions with satisfied clients. As an exclusive offer to our listeners, in addition to the free guide, you can also get up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualified purchase. So don't wait. Text Newsmax to 50505 to claim this exclusive offer from Preserve Gold today. If you're a Democrat, if you're a leader of the Democrat Party, if you're Jake Tapper or Rachel Maddow or Jimmy Kimmel or Bernie Sanders or AOC, I got bad news for you. They're not listening. Your ground troops are not cooperating. They still think it's 2021. They still think they control everything, and they're just not paying attention. Yesterday was one of those days where it felt like they didn't get the memo. Harvard pissed away $2.2 billion. Hopefully they will never see that money. Why did they do that? Because they just won't stop the anti-Semitism on campus. They won't stop their racist admission policies. That's all the federal government said. You can't be racist. You can't be anti-Semitic. And Harvard said, sorry, we're going to keep doing it our way. And the federal government, the Department of Education said, no, we're going to freeze $2.2 billion. And they'll cry that they can't do vital medical research, which is a lie. But it is so ingrained in them. It's so important to them that they base their admissions on race and sex, that they allow pro-Hamas scum to harass Jewish kids. They need that. That's important to them, that they'll lose $2 billion. Same at Columbia. Columbia announced this week that they're laying off 180 staff members. Now, that's no big deal. I'm sure 98% of them do nothing. I'm sure they're just these DEI hires in the administration building pushing papers around and making, $200,000. They're out because the administration cut $400 million in federal funding to Columbia because they just won't do anything about their anti-Semitism problem on campus. This is so bad, what happened at Columbia. Again, the riots last year, that was different. That's under the Biden administration. That's when the federal government supported violent protesters, violent agitators on campus, anti-Semites in their keffiyehs. Times have changed, kids. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you haven't heard. I'm sorry if you didn't get the memo. Yesterday, and this was so despicable, it really is, a bunch of these pro-Hamas dirtbags stormed the library on campus as students were studying for finals. So you're a Columbia student. You're in the Ivy League. You're probably a great student, probably an overachiever, high achiever, and you're getting ready for finals, and you're in the library. And these a-holes come storming in, completely garbed up, with their keffiyehs and face masks and sunglasses, and obviously cowards who are hiding their identity. They climb aboard the tables as kids have their books open and their computers and their laptops, jump up on the tables and shut, screaming "River to the Sea" and Intifada revolution. In other words, screaming they actually screamed for the final solution. Final solution is the Intifada revolution, was one of the chants. Final solution is kill all the Jews. We know that. There are almost 5,000 Jewish students at Columbia. Many of the kids in this library are Jewish. And their fellow students come in and start screaming for the death of them, of the Jewish kids. It's so sick. It's almost like, these are morons. These are stupid people who connect a kid's ethnicity, a student's ethnicity, to a war 5,000 miles away and blame the kid. Blame some kid who's trying to get a degree in engineering or whatever, math. It's his fault. They hate Israel, so they blame kids because they were born Jewish. I know I talk about this every day, but it's just so senseless and stupid. And they were incentivized to do this because, again, there were no consequences under the Biden administration. Nobody did anything. If they got arrested, they walked out 10 minutes later and went back to their dorm and smoked a bong and, got their degree in whatever, social justice. Well, times have changed. They stormed the gates of the library, and then the cops, two things. The Columbia police did two things. They locked them in, and they called the NYPD, or somebody did. The NYPD showed up and started making arrests, actual arrests. This is from Fox. Hours after more than 100 masked anti-Israel agitators stormed the Butler Library at Columbia University, pushing past campus security as students prepared for finals, college officials summoned the NYPD in an effort to subdue the ruling mobs. More than 80 people have been arrested, all of them students, according to the NYPD, all of them students. So we thought during the fall, during the previous riots last year, they were outside agitators, all that. Apparently, these are all students during finals week, and they're harassing the Jewish kids, their classmates. But here's the best part. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, was also monitoring the situation. If arrests were made, the suspects were to be fingerprinted to determine if any of them are non-citizens. Quote, time to make a point, said one source to Fox News. Time to make a point. And then Marco Rubio, our great new Secretary of State, posted a message. He said they are reviewing the visa status of the trespassers and vandals who took over Columbia University's library. Pro-Hamas thugs are no longer welcomed in our great nation. Rubio has shown he's going to do this. You know, every one of these foreign students who are now causing this chaos lied on their visa application, and hopefully every one of them is going back from where they're going back to their home, wherever that is. They're not messing around anymore. It's amazing how ignorant they are. You really want to jeopardize your student visa, your Ivy League degree, just so you can harass some Jewish kid? Can you get the video with a kid writing, vandalizing the library? He just starts writing. I don't know why I was fascinated with this kid. Again, according to the NYPD, this is a student, an Ivy League student. He's got a, whatever it is, a green magic marker. And he's just in the library writing in the bookcase, Free Palestine. He's got his keffiyeh and his sunglasses. He's a coward. I mean, what do you think you're accomplishing? Could someone explain that to me? What is going through his mind? What's the end game, kid? You think Netanyahu's going to see this and say, you know what, let's call off the dogs? He has a point. I think we'll surrender. So you're upset at a war. You're upset that your friends in Hamas are getting their ass kicked. So you bring a green marker to the library and write Free Palestine on the wall. And now you may, if you're a foreign student, you may be sent home. What are mom and dad going to say when you get home? What'd you do? How'd you blow that chance to get an Ivy League degree? Well, I brought a magic marker. I brought a highlighter. I brought a Sharpie to the library, and I wrote Free Palestine and River to the Sea on a bookcase. Oh, okay. As long as there's a good reason you're home here in Lebanon or Syria, time to go milk the goats, son. Sorry about that Ivy League degree. It was, nice try. These people are just morons. And again, it's different now. I know the last administration, they looked the other way. They liked you. They supported you. Those days are over. You're going home. You are a problem now. Time for you to go home. You're not welcome here. And the good news is, when you get home to Syria, and you're in your mud hut in Somalia or wherever you're from, maybe a U.S. senator will visit, and you can have margaritas together, and he will hold your hand. But you're not welcome here anymore because we don't want you here. There's no argument to keep people like this in our country. You want virulent anti-Semites who hate America, hate Israel, want to kill Jews. You want this rabble in your country? Why? What's the argument for keeping people like this in our country? I would love to hear it. What makes you want to have them as your neighbors, have them in your community? It just makes no sense. So they trap them in the library, as you could see on that other video, and they ask for IDs. You can't leave. So first they demand into the library, storm their way in, and then when they say, we're done, we made our point, we want to go now, and the cops said no. I love that. And they asked for IDs, and they arrested them. And according to the NYPD, they were all students. They showed their student ID, they got arrested, and they put them on buses and took them downtown. So hopefully they don't get out in 10 minutes. Hopefully they don't get a slap on the wrist and drop all the charges. That's what the old administration did. This time it's different. And if you're a Columbia alum, aren't you embarrassed? This really does degrade your degree, degrade the reputation of your school. The school can't control the agitators that they let in. They can't just let kids study for finals. Let kids get through the school year. That's all they're asking, and they just can't do it. Again, not because of, they're not protesting anything where they can actually make a difference. They don't have a cause. There's no cause. You're not affecting the war. They're not listening to you in Israel. They laugh at you. You are clowns. You're little cosplaying actors. And again, they're in full costume, right? They're covering their faces. What if they were Klansmen? I mean, it would never happen, but what's the difference if they had Klan robes on, hoods, hiding their identity and harassing black kids? What's the difference? They're in costume, they're hiding their identity, they're dressing up as terrorists, and they're harassing Jewish kids. What's the difference? There is no difference, except, we tolerate this because they hate Trump. That's all that matters. They hate Trump. Speaking of hating Trump, let's get to our favorite Congresswoman. Again, the Republicans should hold hearings in every committee every day. Every day. Put these fools on display. We don't have time for it, but yesterday there were a few hearings, and they were all just, they just put on display the absolute vapid, stupid Democrats who want to stop Trump, who are the resistance, who want you to think, everything Trump does is bad. And most of the time, it was just ignorance on display. That's what it was. I mean, there was a hearing on men and women's sports, again, 80-20 issue. There was a hearing with Scott Bessent, the brilliant Treasury Secretary, who just had to listen to these clowns. And he's good. He's calm. He's measured. He's brilliant. And he was just looking at them going, really? Maxine Waters is trying to pin me down? It was just laughable. And then there was Kash Patel in another hearing, just eating these idiots up. It was great. Here are some of the highlights. This is the hearing on men and women's sports. Again, Republicans should do this every day because here's the problem Democrats have. They don't believe what they're saying. They know men don't belong in women's sports. They know it's unfair. They know men don't belong in women's locker rooms, or women's bathrooms. They have staked their claim on this issue, and they have taken an indefensible position. It makes no sense. They can't turn back now. They're all in. They're for two reasons. Trump's for it, so they're against it, and they're afraid of the trans mob. Even though it's 0.1% of 1%, they're loud and they're scary, and they don't want to go against the trans mob, so they go against common sense instead. And get the other clip from this. Her name is Goss Graves. This is an expert that the Democrats brought in, an expert on men in women's sports. This is their idea of an expert. And she sounds like, this is 2018 or something, 2015, when people actually played along with the charade. Again, we're done with this lady. We're not listening anymore. You are not making any sense at all. But here's the Democrats' idea of an expert on women's sports. And she'll tell you she's an expert. Go ahead.
And as an expert on women's rights in sports and in society, I want to be clear here. Transgender women do not pose a threat to women's sports. Transgender women belong in sports. And I'm here because I care about all women and girls in sport.
So she's an expert, and she says men belong in women's sports. By the way, another expert, one of the witnesses was Peyton McNabb. She's the girl who got permanent brain injury, brain damage in volleyball when a guy spiked the ball into her head. She was at the Trump speech to the joint session of Congress. She's a great witness. The solution from another expert was, why don't we just eliminate spiking in volleyball? We should let men play women's volleyball. just don't let anyone spike the ball. So now their solution is, let's change the rules in sports to make sure men can play against women. They got nothing. They know what they're saying makes no sense, but they're so far gone, they just have to keep digging. They're in a hole and they keep digging. Here's Jasmine Crockett, our choice for 2028 Democrat nominee for president. We're hoping she's just crazy enough to think she can pull it off, but she gets to question Goss Graves, their expert, but she chooses a different tack. She says, let's just go after Trump. It's about men and women's sports, but hey, never miss the opportunity to go after Trump. Watch this absolute clown show.
Miss Goss Graves, I want to play a game. It's called Trump or Trans. You ready?
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to tell me whether or not it is Trump or trans people that are responsible. You understand?
Got it.
Okay, very good. The first one, gutted medical research.
Trump.
Kidnapping Americans and sending them to foreign countries, a.k.a. deporting them.
Trump.
Driving us into a recession.
Trump.
Increasing the cost of everything.
Trump.
Waging an idiotic tariff war.
Trump.
Harming farmers.
Trump.
Ignoring the Constitution.
Trump.
Proposing to take away Social Security.
Trump.
Cutting health care.
Trump.
Firing government workers who keep our country safe.
Trump.
Encouraging an environment of hate and divisiveness.
Trump.
Thank you so much. This committee could be engaged in actual oversight of fraud, waste, abuse, and mismanagement. So let's talk about waste. Like Trump's plan to spend almost $100 million for his little birthday parade.
So that's a hearing on men and women's sports. And it's Trump or trans. Every single word she said was a lie. It also makes the expert look like a total hack, a partisan hack, but that's all they got. There were so many great moments yesterday in all these hearings. I have to say, we don't have time for all of them. Let's just do Ayana, my congresswoman, just another absolute national embarrassment. Every time she speaks, every voter messages should hang our heads in shame that we sent this awful woman to Congress. She thinks she's got Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, because, the tariffs are raising prices on things, not everything, but some things. And I guess she thinks baby strollers, the price is going to go up. And she thinks, she's going to pin down our brilliant Treasury Secretary on this one. People are looking at this around the country and saying, what are they thinking? Massachusetts, why are they sending this absolute lunatic to Congress? It's a good question. I'll never understand it, but check out, she gets 2 minutes, I believe. No, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. This is how she used part of her time.
Mr. Secretary, do you know what a car seat is?
I have 2 children, yes.
Do you know what a car seat is? What? Didn't Jasmine just keep tell us we have real issues in this country, real problems, we're wasting time? And she uses her time to say, do you know what a car seat is? What? Oh, man, just embarrassing, absolutely humiliating. I can't imagine what it's like to be a Democrat right now. You're protecting illegal alien rapists, murderers. You're fighting for China in this trade war. You're taking China's side. You're fighting to keep men playing women's sports, men using women's locker rooms, changing, dressing, showering. They were asking that idiot. They had the guy from USA Fencing, another just extremist lunatic who wants men to play women's sports, and they were asking him, should men shower with women? And what his response was? I don't have an opinion on that. So something as basic as, should men shower in communal showers with women? And his answer was, I don't have an opinion. Of course you do. It's absurd. It's obscene, but they can't be honest because, again, they've dug themselves in. They can't turn back now. They're all in on trans insanity, and it's not going to work out well for them. Hopefully, they keep this up for 2 more years, 4 more years, and it remains an issue in 2026 and 2028. All right, let's get to, man, we got so much. I got to get to the statue in New York City. Again, some people just haven't got the memo. Some people think it's still 2021. And I would say, the people in charge of statues in New York City, they would be top of the list. We'll get to that. And, we have the latest on that pier. Remember the pier Joe Biden built in Gaza, or attempted to build? Turns out it was a bigger disaster than we thought. And, it's not as bad as a signal chat that about a successful military operation, but it's pretty bad. We'll get to that. But first.
Excuse me.
Are you a yo-yo dieter? You diet, you lose weight, you gain it all back, plus a few extra pounds. Then later you lose it, regain it again and again and again. It's dangerous. You know this. Studies show that you can increase your risk of heart attack, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and other health problems. Breaking free of your yo-yo diet pattern is a main reason doctors created Lean. Lean is a supplement, not an injection, and you don't need a prescription. The science behind Lean is impressive. It's studied natural ingredients target weight loss in 3 powerful ways. Lean helps maintain healthy blood sugar, it helps control appetite and cravings, and it helps burn fat by converting fat into energy. Listen, if you're tired of losing weight and gaining it back, if you want to lose meaningful weight at a healthy pace, Lean was created for you. Let me get you started with 20% off when you enter Newsmax 20 at takelean.com. That's code Newsmax20 at takelean.com. We were promised 2 bombshells yesterday. We got excited. The Trump one's not bad. We got a major trade deal. He's announcing it as we speak. That's good. Hopefully it's the first of many. Hopefully he takes away the one and only talking point the Democrats have, that tariffs are going to destroy the world. And hopefully it's a good deal for the U.S. I think it will be. The other bombshell from James O'Keefe from ONG, he said it was going to lead to arrest, and he felt like his life was in danger. I'll just say I'm underwhelmed. The bombshell from James O'Keefe was that Prince Andrew is a scumbag, that a British royal advisor was caught on camera, secret camera that O'Keefe uses, saying that Prince Andrew was effing teenage girls. Now that's bad, but didn't we already know that? And every time, here's what drives me nuts. Every time we talk about Prince Andrew and his buddy Jeffrey Epstein, all they talk about, particularly in the British press, is, oh no, he's going to lose his crown, or they won't let him ride in the golden chariot, and all this royal family garbage. Is he above the law? We know he was raping little girls. He's still free. I don't care if he gets to go to some royal ball with Cinderella. Why is he not in handcuffs? Why are we not threatening to arrest him in this country? He raped little girls. But we need to hear more. We need more Epstein files. I know I've said it many times. They can't sit on this. Pam Bondi, every day she does media appearances. She's on with Hannity, and sometimes she has big announcements. Yesterday, we told you about the big announcement, busting the Sinaloa drug cartel guy and confiscating millions of fentanyl pills. That's great. But Pam, I need to remind you, you promised the Epstein files. You said you saw the names. You saw the photos. You said it was disgusting. You said it was sick. And you told us we would see it. So you could do all kinds of great work, and you are, but none of it will matter if you don't keep that promise. Prince Andrew can't be the only one. Prince Andrew, who, oh no, they're not going to let him carry the golden scepter and wear the big gown and wear a crown. Oh, the poor guy. All right, let's get to this. Oh, remember what we went through a few years ago? They were tearing statues down. The media loved it. Democrats loved it. Yeah, let's just destroy our history. And it wasn't just Confederate generals. It wasn't just Robert E. Lee. Need we remind you, in New York, they tore down statues or took down statues of Thomas Jefferson, Teddy Roosevelt. In Boston, they took down a statue of Abraham Lincoln with a statue that was a tribute to him for freeing the slaves, a statue that was paid for by freed slaves. And cowardly Mayor Walsh took it down. That's what we lived through, this shameful period in our history. And you're thinking, okay, we've gotten through that. We're past that. We're done with the whole crazy George Floyd era where the whole world was upside down. Well, not in New York City. There was a statue unveiled this week in New York City. And when you see this the first time, this is one of those Babylon Bee moments. You're saying, this cannot be real. A 12-foot statue of a fat black woman with kind of a nasty look on her face, her hands on her hips, like a defiant black woman. Here they are celebrating the unveiling of this statue called Grounded in the Stars. I'm even not sure why it's grounded in the stars, but there she is, the chubby black woman. I thought it was a tribute to Letitia James. Looks like her, but no, it's a generic black woman in Times Square. Apparently, it's not going to be there forever, but it's there for now. Here's the description from the Times Square Arts Group that put this up. Installed at ground level on a wide, low base, the work invites engagement with the hundreds of thousands of people who traverse the plaza each day. The woman Grounded in the Stars cuts a stark contrast to the pedestaled permanent monuments, both white, both men, which bookend Duffy Square while embodying a quiet gravity and grandeur. What? Does that embody gravity and grandeur? So its response, according to the group that put it up, to the two statues in Times Square, one of war hero Francis Duffy, which Duffy Square is named after, and George Cohan, a Broadway legend. They both happen to be white guys, so they had to have an answer to it. And they put up a chubby black woman. Why? If you really were just looking to have, make it about race and equity, you couldn't come up with a real black person? You couldn't put, I don't know, Rosa Parks or Harriet Tubman or Willie Mays, or hell, put Jalen Brunson, put Aaron Judge up there. Why this generic chubby black woman who looks like Letitia James? They're not good at this. This is the problem they have. They're not good at this. You take down Teddy Roosevelt and Thomas Jefferson and put up Letitia James. And you know what? I have news for you, New York, and the Times Square Art Group. We're laughing at you. The country is laughing at you. The people, the tourists. I saw a bunch of man on the street interviews, and no one knows who this is or why this is there. They're just looking at it, bewildered, going, I don't get it. I don't get it. All right, before we go here, I got to do this because we talked about this pier, the pier in Gaza that the Biden administration thought was a good idea. It was insane from the beginning because the reason they did it was to bring in aid to Hamas. Hamas steals all the aid. So it was a way to get humanitarian aid allegedly to Hamas, which is nuts. So they said, we, the United States, will build a pier in Gaza. We'll use the U.S. military. Obviously, it's a stupid idea from the beginning. It's much worse than you thought. A new report revealed that the temporary pier the U.S. military deployed to Gaza was more dangerously than previously known. The Pentagon's Inspector General released a report that said a total of 62 military personnel were injured during the deployment. One guy died building this stupid pier. We spent $230 million. The pier lasted 20 days and delivered no aid to Gaza. This is such a perfect Biden moment. Let's just make it look good. Show us building a pier, helping the poor people of Gaza, and it floated away. And people, and an American soldier died, and 60 American service members were injured, some of them serious, and then they covered it up. And I bring this up to remind you just how incompetent the Pentagon was in the last administration. Did they hold signal chats? Did they include Jeffrey Goldberg on a signal chat? No, they didn't. But they got Americans killed. To me, that seems a little more important. Pete Hegseth hasn't gotten anyone killed yet. Pete Hegseth is doing a great job. I like the choice. I liked him when he was confirmed. I like him even better now. He gave a speech a couple of days ago, and here's what I love about this. He is not backing down. He knows the media is after him. He knows the coverage of him by the networks has been 100% negative, 100%. But he's not backing down. He's doing what 77 million voters want him to do. And this speech gave me I jumped out of my seat and applauded. Check out our new Secretary of Defense, not backing down at all.
Leaving wokeness and weakness behind. No more pronouns, no more climate change obsession, no more emergency vaccine mandates, no more dudes in dresses. We're done with that shit.
I always fear that
meritocracy.
There he is. I always fear they'll get nervous, skittish. The media's after them. Democrats. I always fear that when Republicans are under attack. He's not backing down. No more dudes in dresses, he says. We're done with that shit. That is perfect. Keep going, Pete. Ironhead, I got a new way. A new way we're going to close out the show. I know you love your Kamala cuts. I know you have some good clips at the end of the show. But there's a new show. I don't know if people even know this, but they got rid of Joy Reid on MSNBC. And they got a new show with 3 people. One is a crazy left-wing black woman who's crazier than Joy Reid. One is Michael Steele, who's the biggest fraud in media. He used to be the head of the RNC, and now he's just a bomb-tossing liberal, hates Trump. And then there's Robert Menendez's daughter, the criminal that was going to prison, former senator, his daughter. So the 3 of them have replaced Joy Reid, and they're not changing anything. They're nuts, and everything's about race and everything's about hating Trump. And here's how they finish their show. I think I like this sign, and I think we should give it a shot. Here's whatever her name is. Is that Simone Sanders, I think? And Michael Steele walking off the set at MSNBC. Go ahead.
So we finished
the
wrap.
First episode. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. I need a drink. I need a drink. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. And we're going to eat. We're going to drink. We're going to party. We're going to eat. We're going to drink. And we're going to be back tomorrow.
Meanwhile, in the back, they're like working.
Oh, my God. We're going to eat. I believe that. We're going to eat. We're going to drink, because they just finished their 1-hour show, just Trump bashing for an hour like everyone else on MSNBC. We're going to eat. We're going to drink. And they dance. Has anyone in D.C., anyone in the history of American politics or media, beclowned himself quite like Michael Steele? He's 66 years old, and he's dancing, talking about how we're going to eat, we're going to drink. God, what a humiliating exhibition that was. But all right, you ready, Ironhead? We're going to eat, we're going to drink. That's a wrap. That's a wrap. You good? All right. We'll leave it there for today. Big day, big deal with UK. More to come, hopefully. Big announcements every day. Looking forward to them. But that will do it for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is The Callahan Show, and we will do it again tomorrow.
And as an expert on women's rights in sports and in society, I want to be clear here. Transgender women do not pose a threat to women's sports. Transgender women belong in sports. And I'm here because I care about all women and girls in sport.